Okay, I'm now at an intersection and got a really nice map here, I have to say. This is nicely done for the tourist. I wish everything else around here was as accurate and as informative in as simple a way. Anyway, you can see where we're at right here. And this is the first mound up here to the left. This one right there. And then the one that I initially was going to, and the one that I have had in my records, is this one right here. Nakaoyama Tumulus. And apparently tumulus is the word for burial mound or mound. Okay, I'm now up at the Nakaoyama Tumulus. And what these were, and here's an example of it, it shows perhaps the mound. This may be the overall mound, the dirt portion, blah, blah, blah. And this either constructed like this or hollowed out of the soil was probably where the tomb was. There's no English, so I can't tell. This is the mound. Before I pan about, one of the things today is such a lovely day, particularly after rain yesterday and the day before, that even if I didn't achieve anything today, just being out here in this small town, which used to be one of the original capitals, even before Nara, which was before Kyoto, which was before Edo or Tokyo. It's a lovely day just to be out, and riding around the bicycle allows me to get lost faster and farther away from the train station, or to find more places that I can see in the same amount of time I would normally have if I'm lucky. Not hard to imagine, like an early king or warlord or whoever was the major domo down here in Asuka, that they would be buried on top of such a high hill, such a nice promontory that was still probably relatively close to their town. And probably this area was littered with shrines, etc., etc. But I'm just guessing at all of that. And it's interesting to imagine to what degree this tree is nourished, even by the nutrient of that ancient king's body. Again, you can imagine what a good perspective this was. And notice how it's terraced a little bit here, certainly terraced where that, what looks like a manhole cover is. So were there buildings here? Were there shrines here? Were there memorial gardens here? Perhaps down that slope? You can imagine there must have been something, but I don't know what. I've gone back down the road I came in on from that maps sign that you saw, just to photograph this area, which looks like it at one time would have held substantial buildings, those two huge stones there, no doubt similar to these. And here there appear to be three, or at least two, and there's a large stone covering that waterway there, but you can see the remains, what looks like the remains of the foundation of either a platform or of a building, and I'm guessing it would be a platform, and that these stones, which this one, for example, is hollowed out a bit on top, perhaps because it held a post or something like that over time, and for some reason wore because of that. But you can imagine if these terracings are original, and not something that agriculture created over time, that there were other structures, gardens or whatever on that. And that may give us a clue as to how this entire area was used, religious support, if you will, of the tumulus or the burial mounds. Now we'll go up that road to one of the mounds that I initially had come to. So here's the nifty locks on these things. You push this orange button in, slide this down to position it, locks it, take out the key, put it in some secure place so I don't lose it like I did at Chiang Mai and spend an hour in panic going up and down this steep hill to this temple 3 times in a row, because looking for it, like looking for a needle in a haystack, finally did find it. There's an observatory up here, so I'll go up and take a look at that. It's interesting, as I work my way along this lovely wooded path to the observatory, it looks like we're looking at a mound. If it were the Mayans, that would be a mound of some former building and littered with stones around here, all carved. Walking on this moss-covered pathway is like walking on living room carpeting. Not sure why it's called the observatory. It just has the views that any of these hilltops seem to have. But I want to go over and look at what I thought was a mound. The ground is actually, I don't think it's spongy. I think there's so much in the way of leaf matter that apparently doesn't get to decompose all that fast, that you just feel like you're sinking down on every step. Now, I don't know what use this area had, but it certainly had some kind of a use. It's too well plateaued. Even in recent times there was some kind of a little structure right here. But this is too obvious a reworking of this hill for it not to have been something. And the ground littered with what I will assume are cherry blossom petals. And notice how this hillside is cut out right here, leaving this long flat horseshoe shape of the natural slope. Something was here. So we can see where it dropped off into this other plateaued area that rises up towards what's the picnic area called the observatory. And here's some little oddities created out of the remains of trees or bushes on this site, with a little bit of metal or something painted to add the final touches of the illusion. I don't know what this interpretive sign is, but from this distance, some of these panels appear to be either plaster cast copies of archaeological finds in the record, or I have no clue what they are. Unlike China, even the very rural is pretty darn cleaned up. Have these terraces been used for eons? It seems so all over Japan. Such niches, if you will, in the little mountains, the valleys and the hills. It's all farmed. These are reproductions of murals that were found on some of the tombs. They represent the 4 guardian spirits of the cardinal points. The people in the murals, both men and women, but the men are shown holding in their hands sunshades, chairs, and pouches containing swords and bows, and also have pouches hanging around their necks. Not sure that we see that here, but the females carry round fans. That may be the one on the left here. Fly swatters, makes sense. Related staffs of authority, probably for the men, but they're Buddhist-related staffs of authorities. And of course, it's a reflection of the attire of the time, a valuable resource for cultural historians. Of course, scientists today can usually recreate the exact colors from just super microscopic remains, and could restore this so we could see what it literally looked like then. Again, back at this early time, and And I think it was before, well, no, it was before 700, because that was about the time that Nara became the capital. So before that, the culture at the high level, not the lower common peoples, but the high level was absolutely dominated by Chinese. In fact, while there was a Japanese language, there was no Japanese writing, so everything was written in Chinese. This long device may be one that carried a sword that for propriety's sake was sheathed and kept in that while they were, sexes were enjoying whatever experience of these tableaus was. This apparently is giving us a view of the inside of the coffin, and here we have a view inside of the actual tombs, and we're able to stand up and look at this reproduction. Some of the grave goods apparently are in there. Here's where those murals we were looking at were. Now, whether these are the original, I don't know. It could be that they picked up this en masse and moved it here, or these could also be reproductions. This is some kind of stratigraphy design. This is some kind of stratigraphy illustration, but I don't know of what, nor of that either. It should be no surprise that most cultures building elaborate, important tombs for their important leaders would embellish the walls with some reflection of the essence of passing into death. It looks like these are just reproductions of what we've already seen. And we've seen this illustration before, but this may be the original in a glass protected case. But imagine, as we can, I think, that they were probably very real people portrayed, and in their day were recognized. But now I suspect all that lost to history, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to be knowledgeable enough about Chinese art, particularly of that time, to see the direct relationship between the two. This appears to be a top-down drawing view of the topography, if you will, the topo lines of a typical mound. Perhaps the one where these illustrations were found. This somehow adds to it, but I don't know why or how without some English. There's a better view of the mound. Whether that's a reconstruction or not, I don't know. But maybe we'll see something like that. Here's some examples, apparently, of men's clothing of the time. We can see some of those devices that were described. And of the women. Look at the curious hats. Every culture seems to have something either with hair or hats. It's just one more vehicle for portraying the intricacies of convention. There's a man carrying one of the simple chairs. We use the same today. Here the same couple greeting perhaps this lady here. It looks like a back scratcher, but maybe it's the fly swatter. Here the same theme contest apparently between snake and turtle. Not aware of that. Here it looks like some kind of an animal, not a turtle, confronted with the same dilemma of a snake. This may be illustrating the level of soil over the top of a tomb. Interesting to imagine whether the tombs, those stones there, were inserted into an existing hill or the hill was built around them. Here another cross-section view of the casket as well as the tomb and some of the illustrations on the walls. It still looks like it's filled with restraint. There, the original picture. This apparently reflects the excavation of an entire portion of a tomb. Maybe an early illustration of how they would have looked. Architecture here, two-story building. Those trees probably belie a very pretty garden in the back.